Do we have quorum? It appears that the opposition doesn't have, is not here. I'm curious to know if there's quorum.
Hello?
Testing, testing, 1, 2.
Councillors, ladies and gentlemen, may we please rise? Can our guests in the gallery please stand up? Guests in the gallery, may we please stand up? Councillors, ladies and gentlemen, the Speaker of Council, Councillor Vasco da Gama.
Good morning, councillors. Can we remain standing for a moment of silence? Thank you very much. You may be seated.
Testing.
Secretary.
Good morning. It is hereby notified that the 5th Ordinary Council meeting of the City of Johannesburg Municipality to debate the budget speech and consideration of reports is held on Friday, 27th May 2022 at 10 a.m. at the Constance Konipapela Council Chamber, Metro Center in Braamfontein. And our first item is the opening.
Executive Mayor of the City of Johannesburg, Councillor Mpho Palazzi, Whip of Council, Councillor Tyrell Meyers, all political parties, leaders and whips, members of the Mayoral Committee, Chair of Chairs, Councillor Colleen Makubele, chairpersons of Section 79 committees, fellow councillors, Acting City Manager, Mr. Tian Elias, Acting Secretary to Council, Mr. Andile Kobinka, officials of the City of Johannesburg, residents of the City of Johannesburg, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you all to the 5th Ordinary Council meeting of the City of Johannesburg Municipality. I would like to start the meeting by congratulating MMC of Finance and the team on the compilation of the 2022-2023 budget, the consultation that was required to finalize this budget, that has promises to see definitive changes within the city commendable. Yesterday, our Christian councillors celebrated Ascension Day, important event on the Christian calendar as it marks the 40th day after Easter when Christ ascended into heaven after his resurrection. To accommodate our Muslim and Jewish councillors, I would like to implore councillors to allow us to move through business of council without unnecessary interruption and ensure that our Jewish councillors are home by 1800 this evening. I would like to send wishes to the recovery to numerous councillors that I believe are suffering with all ill health. I have been advised that we no longer rating. Finally, on behalf of our council, I would like to welcome Councillor Chris Avant, a new councillor that replaces Councillor Nicola du Plessis. Would you please rise, Councillor? Councillors, please note that in terms of Rule 62(3)(b), the chairperson of EIS, Councillor Ngobeni, and the executive have requested that consideration of the agenda items be rearranged as follows, respectively, and I have acceded to the requests. Item 7 be considered first, followed by item 5.
Speaker. This side, Speaker.
Which side?
On your left, on your right.
Thank you, Councillor.
Good morning, Speaker. I am noticing that councillors before us have the agenda. We don't in this line. The speakers list, sorry.
The speakers?
The speakers list.
Speakers list. That will be distributed, Councillor. Just give an indication if you don't have, they will.
The whole of the back line doesn't.
Yeah, no, that will happen, Councillor. The following items to be considered first, followed by items 5, 8, 6, 4, 1, 2, and item 3 be considered last. With those words, you are all welcome. Before we continue with the meeting, can legal please advise and verify the number of councillors in the chamber? Yes, 5 minutes. 5 minutes for that to happen. Councillors, I hope that you've all signed the register outside. Just to make sure, those that have forgotten, please, it's your opportunity now before they verify the list. You all know by now that you've first got to sign the register. Councillor Marcel.
Good morning, Speaker. Sorry for the interruption. Speaker, can you just repeat again what you are changing around for us? Sorry, we didn't catch that.
Thank you. If you can list them as follows. Item 7 first, which is the bylaw, Dolomite bylaw. We will have the debate first, then we will go to item 7, and then the items will follow after that. 5, 8, 6, 4, 1, 2, and then 3 last.
Thank you, Speaker. And if we can just make a change on the debate on the budget speech, for Action SA, it will be Councillor Majola that will be speaking, not myself. Thank you.
Councillors, that I've signed is 147, so we do have a quorum. And as when we delete items, maybe they need us to come and do that.
1.
47.
Thank you, councillors. The preliminary number currently out there is 147, and as we deal with the items, we will update the current number. So we do have a quorum, and we can continue.
We are on the second item, which is applications for leave of absence.
Councillors, I've received a blanket apology for the EFF on private business. All of them are not attending today. Anybody else, councillors? Councillor Dummy? Oh, sorry, and Councillor Nontenja. She's also not going to attend today. Councillor Dummy?
Thank you, Speaker. Morning. Speaker, from ANC Caucus, I want to register the following. Apologies. Councillor Mugwena, still sick at home. Councillor Elma Suk, still sick at home. Councillor Zama, sick at home. Councillor Eizazi, sick at home. The following councillors are not here due to ESCOM. They were attacked yesterday by the community. Councillor N. Mazibuko, Councillor J. Mufukeng, Councillor Noktula, Nofemela, Councillor D. Toteti, Councillor T. Mwedi, Councillor L. Ngema, Councillor P. Sindani will be late, Councillor S. Mabuza, late, Councillor J. Sukwele, late, Councillor L. Lohuto, Councillor L. Libya, and Councillor Chauke will be late. The other councillors that I've already mentioned, they are busy with ESCOM issues, as you can know that the road is closed in Soweto. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Councillor Dummy. If you can just present that list to the to the front here so that they can correctly relate it. Councillors, I can see Councillor Whistler's hand and Councillor Rafferty's hand. But before you come in, the issue that was raised by Councillor Dummy is really disturbing. It is disturbing that our councillors are actually attacked by communities because of the Eskom outages. Last night I received that message, and obviously it's on Twitter, it's on all 4 Facebook pages. This is really not acceptable. That because of Eskom, we are getting this type of attacks by communities on residents. And I really urge the departments responsible for Eskom to really start assisting councillors. It can't be that our councillors are really attacked through this. Councillor Whistler?
Thank you, Speaker. We have one apology. It's Councillor Liebenberg. She's still in hospital. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Whistler. Councillor Rafferty?
Thank you, Speaker. Just for Councillor Caldine, your health.
Thank you. Anybody else? I don't see any other hands and no other apologies. Thank you. Can we approve the apologies as submitted? Is it agreed to? Thank you.
We move into item 3, which recommendations to council.
Executive Mayor, recommendations.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I here present the following items for consideration by council, items from the executive. Thank you.
Chair of Chairs.
Thank you, Speaker. I hereby table the reports from legislature.
Thank you very much, Chair.
We now move into item 3.1 is a budget speech that was presented on the 25th of May, 2022. We then now move to item 3.2, which is basically the debate on the budget speech.
Councillor Nko. Councillor Dummy.
Thank you, Speaker. I just want to correct the speakers on our list. Item 1 and 4, Councillor Dimudupi will speak.
Councillor, I can't hear you. You're not clear.
Oh, sorry, Speaker. I'm saying I just want to correct the speakers list. Councillor, item 1 and 4, Councillor Dimudupi will speak. Item 3, Councillor P. Hadebe will speak because Councillor Sendane is not here.
Okay, you said 1. Just repeat that.
Item 1 and 4, Councillor Dimudupi will speak on
Okay,
item.
thank you.
Item 3,
Yes.
Councillor P. Hadebe will speak on all the item 3.
Thank you.
Councillor Sendane is not present.
Thank you very much. Is there any other changes to the speakers list? Councillor Mhlonga.
Sorry, Speaker. Councillor Marema will debate the
Yes,
speech.
he's on the list.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Mhlonga.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Councillor Arnold is going to speak on the emergency report.
Emergency,
Agency report, sorry.
which one?
Item 8.
Item 8.
Yes. Item 8, do you see it, Speaker?
I'm still looking for it.
Okay,
I've got it. Yes, she is listed on it.
okay, thank you.
Right, thank you. Thank you, councillors. Councillor Nko. Here.
Greetings to the Speaker, Executive Mayor, PAC constituency.
Can you please get closer to the mic?
Okay. PAC constituencies, all councillors, and beloved residents of the city of Johannesburg. Let me start my speech by remembering the wise words of the late Mo-Africa E.L. Makoti, proclaimed in 1968, May 31st, also found in basic document of the PAC of Azania. As we march into the
Councillor, I can't see you. If you can just raise your hand. Oh, at the podium. Ish. Yeah, no. Unshapileka 6'9". Push up. Thanks. You can continue.
Okay, thank you, Speaker. Thank you. Let me start my speech by remembering the wise words of the late Mo-Africa L.E. Makoti, proclaimed in 1968, May 31st, also found in basic documents of PAC of Azania. As we march into the theater of war, we are required to answer one question, which determines the nature of our struggle. In whose interest should the state power be wielded? This is a rallying call for our war of liberation and require a practical answer which can only be supplied by the battlefield. Our patience has run out. We must fight to restore our usurped land. Our sons and their sons will carry on the fight where we leave off until victory is won, until an Africanist, socialist democracy is established in our land. It must be Africanist because nationalism demands that the interest of indigenous people to whom the land belongs should dominate over those of aliens. It must be socialistic because the interest of the workers whose contribution to the wealth of the country is more significant should dominate over those of their private employers. It must be democratic because the state power will be wielded by the common people who form the majority of the people and whose interests are common and non-antagonistic. We are on battlefield, Speaker. We are fighting poverty, inequality, and injustice. Those who elected us without any outright majority given to any party rely on us to win the battle, not the war. Someone said, a war gives you a victory for tomorrow, while a battle assures you an internal victory. Mr. Speaker, the budget speech tabled in this chamber on 25th of May 2022 was the first one since the last local elections. The people of the city waited in anticipation for what they expected to be a socialistic budget, the one that is for the people and not just for capitalists. Unfortunately, we all listened. We all listened to a speech that assured us a victor over a war and not over a battle, mainly because the budget failed to uphold the socialist Pan-African view. Mr. Speaker, Pan-Africanism from very beginning was anti-colonialism. Anti-colonialism is nothing but anti-capitalism, because colonialism is nothing but an offshoot of an aspect of capitalism. Therefore, if you are anti-colonialism, you must be anti-capitalist. if you are logic in thinking, of course. The city of Johannesburg, characterized by broken streets, broken families due to poverty, broken power stations, broken sewer pipes, and broken of its youth. This is all because when things are done, including drafting of the multi-billion budget, like this one of the city, capitalism thinking, always informs the school of thoughts. Mr. Speaker, a mere one sentence on how the city will actively create jobs opportunity through SMME empowerment was a shame. MMC Julie, you mentioned SME once in your speech, just to say that the government will support 4,500 of them, over 14,000 SMEs in 1 year, with no proper project or specific budget allocations. This is a shame. More than 50% youth are unemployed, yet the city does not have a solid plan on how it's going to support SMEs with...
Councillor, your time is over. Yeah.
Oh, so fast.
Thank you.
Woo. Okay.
Thank you, Councillor.
Is it rich?
Their level. UIM, Councillor Reddy. Councillor, there's a point of order? Yes.
Thank you. Just on procedure, Speaker, especially for the minority parties, just give us a 30 seconds heads up, just to tell us you've got 30 seconds left. Then at least if we're not finished by then, we can actually skip and then just go to the closing. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. I sometimes wonder that you know, I'm asked to remind. When I remind them, they say I'm interrupting. So, but I'll do that. Thanks. Councillor Reddy, your time starts now.
Good morning to the Executive Mayor, Speaker of Council, Chief Whip, Chair of Chairs, MMC Julie Sotheby, MMCs, Acting City Manager, fellow councillors, distinguished guests, but most importantly, our valued residents of our beautiful city of Johannesburg. Firstly, please allow me to commend MMC Julie Sotheby on a well-balanced and generously distributed budget. Like a wise man once said, if you only have 10 rand, you can't spend 20. Mr. Speaker, it's no secret that our beautiful city has been plagued by various impediments that has placed great strain on the faithful paying residents of our city. Whilst I can stand here and very well shoot off on all the social ills that has contributed to the dire straits that the city is in, I choose not to point a finger, not to be demeaning, or lay blame on any of that. The rear view mirror in a motor vehicle is a perfect example of why the windshield in front is larger and the rear view mirror is smaller. And on that premise, I base my response to this budget speech. Mr. Speaker, wanting to have a clean running water city, access to uninterrupted electricity supply, and more especially on those horribly cold winter mornings, a clean and moreover a safe city is not too much to ask, is it? Well, as a matter of fact, that's exactly what the doctor ordered, for us to stay happy and healthy. But for the residents of our beautiful city, Joburg, it's become more of a yearning cry than an amazing guarantee that all is well, and there's no need to panic. Speaker, Section 27 of our Constitution explicitly states that it is a basic human right to clean and reliable water. We further can acknowledge that clean drinking water is essential for the realization of human rights around the country. As it appears, in order for us to make this a reality, we first need to get the infrastructure right, clearing blockages, upgrading infrastructure, and repairing of pipes. And this would mean that what our MMC has done. So MMC Sarbi, thank you for that allocation to Joburg Water. You've done well. I am almost certain that no one seated here today can tell me that they are immune or can confirm genuinely that they are immune to the fact that we have an electricity crisis within our country, but more so within our city. This electricity crisis is crippling not just our economy, but detrimentally impacting businesses, service delivery, and jobs, and the residents of our beautiful city. And as a positive kickoff earlier this week, we had a resounding success when we launched the Energy in
30
Daba.
seconds.
Having said that, I want to say yet again, this proves that we mean business by getting the basics right. So, here's what I want to say. Let's kick off with the golden repair. I want to conclude with the following. Allow me to edit a positive statement from former President Nelson Mandela. Overcoming poverty is not a gesture of charity. It is an act of justice. It is the protection of a fundamental human right, the right to dignity and a decent life. While poverty persists, there can be no true freedom. I thank you.
Thank you. APC, Councillor Machete. Councillors, you've all seen the speakers list. Those councillors that are going to speak next, please just come closer. There is enough seats closer to the podium. Continue, Councillor. Thank you. Your time starts now.
Greetings, Speaker, Councillor, Executive Mayor, Expand Follows Councillor. Dumela, Member
Councillor
Toropo,
Machete, please speak into the mic.
Mayor Choreno Tibaga Bogaleng, APC Constitution, and the resident of the great city of Johannesburg. Mr. Speaker, the budget for local municipalities based on the priority identified by the mayor during the State of the City address. Before commenting on the budget speech, I have two APC proposals which will change the way we do things. Number one, social auditor. Residents have opportunity at the end of the project to state how they experience the delivery of service to them. They get a chance to indicate the shortage coming and good, participate by uphill. Then this way, they're becoming participants in their own development. What is your objection to this policy? APC proposal. Number two, what-based budgeting? This is a budget that belongs to residents. It must go straight to the wards and not end in the corridor. On the corridor, yes. We propose that at least 20% of the budget be shared equally by all wards. It should be spent on community identified projects. What is your objection to this policy? APC proposal. Let me comment of the budget speech tabled here 2 days ago. Our city carries the pillar of poverty, employment, and equality. According to the speech, almost 50% of our residents are employed. Therefore, poor 30% have no said in your speech, a once shining city of gold is now a city with broken promises and broken roads. One of the moral priorities as a state
Don't laugh, Speaker.
in your speech is to build caring city. Your budget speech,
Councillors, let's give the
MMC
councillor a
Judy,
chance to...
I was a bit conflict as to how will this budget enable us to achieve an inclusive city. You are budgeting completely disagree the legislative party of it. It was just not a prioritized and your present and budget for lip service. Business as usually.
20 seconds.
To achieve inclusive means we must fundamentally transform our resources allocation and have the light transforms to end exclusive. Please tell us, by when will we have electricity for all? Do you have the intention?
Thank you, Councillor Machete. Your time is over.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Arnolds.
Speaker.
Councillors, please stop that.
Speaker. Can you assist us by explaining who's the gentleman sitting at the back there? He's wearing some Adidas.
I can't see him, Councillor.
As you go out at the last row here, at the back.
Come on. It's the the guys that are assisting inside the council, Councillor. Councillor Arnolds, you can continue, thank you. IT. Nisko silinga namus. Neabona.
Can I start?
Yes.
Speaker of Council, Councillor Vasco da Gama, Executive Mayor Mpho Palazzi, Chief Whip of Council Tyrell Mayers, Minority Opposition Party Councillors and its Secretary, Councillor Kwamanda, Whip of AIC, Councillor Mhlongo, Whip of the ANC, Councillor Mgina, but most of all residents of Johannesburg. MMC of Finance, on the 22nd of April 2022, in this very chamber, we were given a State of the City address that was empty. On the 25th of May 2022, on Africa Day, we were presented with a budget that is a wish list, a dream. Speaker, page 3 of this budget speaks of together in bold letters 3 times. But the budget has no togetherness. It is rather disjointed. You state that the IDPs gave you an indication that what the residents of City of Johannesburg wants. The people in the townships where I come from are saying no to your debt rehabilitation program. Speaker, can I be protected from some of the DA councillors?
Councillor Arnolds, you are protected. Please continue.
The intimidation of sending wrong accounts to people and pasting it on their walls for everybody to see. A letter written to Mr. A.E. Bowers from Eldorado Park, number 10 Sir Quinn Street, that died 21 years ago, and the house was bought by his granddaughter 19 years ago, when rates, water, and electricity bills were settled. But now he has to come back to pay a non-existing account from his grave. 40% unemployment.
Point of order.
Rule 72.
Councillor Christians.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, I don't need to mention the rule because the councillor knows which rule I'm rising on, but the councillor is misleading the House. Can she correct her statement that we are putting up the letters? It's been a practice long before we were here, and maybe we should change
Thank you,
that
Councillor
practice.
Christians. In the response...
Sit down, sit down.
Councillor Christians, can I ask you not to do that again? Please. And the reason for that is quite simple. That the councillor is delivering a speech, the MMC will respond afterwards. So there is going to be a response. You don't need to respond now. Thank you. Councillor Arnolds, please continue.
40% unemployment, and you have added to it. MMC, what happened to the integrated green plan, where budget would be allocated to city parks to cut grass and not to wait for housing and JRA and health and social development to cut grass? What happened to the hybrid model to assist with the security of the city and its facilities? We are in this problem because of what happened with the security. It is clear that the wards in the townships will not benefit from the budget. This is clearly preparing for 2024 and the coalition that we were told on Sunday. The basics has become luxury: water, electricity, and sanitation. The 6 kiloliters has been taken away. Please give us buckets, boreholes, and candles, because we won't be able to afford the tariff hikes, and we will continuously burn out ourselves, like what has happened 2 days ago in El Dorado Park. 2017, we were promised fire engines. Where are those fire engines? Still on their way from the warehouse. The field band has still not been brought to book about the funding for drug rehabilitation. But I told the MMC then to rather work with registered rehabs and NGOs than going to the drum majorettes to do rehab. Clinics, 24 hours. Hopefully nurses will be safe in these clinics. There will be medication, because not even the 7-hour clinics that are currently there has medication or decent security.
30 seconds.
The African Independent Congress says no to this budget in all its entirety.
Councillor Shabangu. Councillor Shabangu.
Councillor Shabangu is not here.
Thank you. Councillor Makwenchu.
Greetings, Speaker of Council. Greetings, Honorable Executive Mayor Dr. Mpho Phalatse. Greetings, Whip of Council. Greetings, Chair of Chairs, and greetings all. MMC Sarabi, indeed, the city is in need of a golden repair to ensure a better tomorrow for the residents of the city. The unemployment is sitting at 40% and above 50% for the youth. As the ATM, we therefore welcome the plan to create the 17,504 job opportunities. As much as it is a drop in the ocean, it is welcome. 29% of our residents do not have electricity. Residents are up in arms due to electricity challenges, and the lives of our fellow councillors are at risk due to serious threats on their lives from the communities who are currently without electricity. Maybe we need to consider JMPD protection for our councillors and to take over the ESCOM services in our wards. The 77.3 billion budget is obviously not enough given all the social challenges in the city. But it is a good start as it gives an indication of the multi-parties government intention to create a better tomorrow for the residents of the city of Johannesburg. As the ATM, we welcome the 20.5 billion operational budget for the city power. Overall, we do welcome the budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McQuencha. Councillor Phillips. Councillor Phillips. Okay.
Makwetha ujabulanga kodwa sana. Awukhombisa ukujabula.
Councillor, can I ask you not to use the mic until you're given permission? No, you can hide your head. Just lift it up, Councillor. Doesn't help. Doesn't help. Thank you, Councillor Phillips. You can continue.
Thank you, Speaker. Honorable Speaker, Executive Mayor, members of the Mayoral Committee, fellow councillors and officials, members of the gallery, greetings this morning. Speaker, I would like to start my address by once again just offering condolences to the ANC on the loss of Councillor Mpho Moerane, a dedicated public servant, an activist at heart, and he will be dearly missed. Speaker, the budget proposed by the MMC for Finance sounds good in theory. However, it collapses once you examine its details with the slightest level of scrutiny. We support the call to invest substantially in the sustainable human and social development and economic growth clusters. Such funds would help us to improve existing infrastructure, cut red tape around SMMEs, and provide shelter for the homeless, and move forward with new infrastructure developments. An economy that works for all can be achieved by actively pursuing these goals and more. There is no point, however, in creating conditions for economic growth without substantively aiding people of Johannesburg, the poor people of Johannesburg. When it comes to this budget, the ends do not justify the means. The people of our city must know what will happen if Council decides to adopt today's proposed budget. The price of living for Johannesburg's poorest is already too high. Why are we proposing to inflate that price is just beyond reason. If today's vote is successful, water tariffs will increase by a whopping close to 10%. Electricity rates will balloon, property rates will expand. Those suffering from ongoing economic crises will have to dig deeper in their pockets. How can the governing coalition claim to be pro-poor as it surges the price of essentials? Talking about getting the basics right. A basic right to water and electricity, which we have to pay exorbitantly for. The city has made big claims about investing in EPWP jobs. The coalition must be careful not to classify this initiative of theirs as job creation. EPWP is a poverty alleviation program that has an end date. In other words, it is temporary. We need concrete plans from the city government as to how it will not only alleviate poverty but also create sustainable jobs through its budget. Revenue generation has been on the downturn for several years. Gains this year has decreased. We can give ratepayers and citizens a break from rising tariffs, or at least take a haircut on rising tariffs. It's time the city relooks the quality of its revenue generation so we aren't forced to increase the price that citizens pay for the essentials. Speaker, good won't stand for a budget that puts further economic pressure on the most vulnerable. And for the reasons stated before, good cannot support this illogical and anti-poor budget. I thank you.
Councillor Ismail Musa.
The Honourable Speaker of Council, Councillor Vasco da Gama, the Executive Mayor, Councillor Mpho Palazzi, Chief Whip of Council, Councillor Tariff Increases, Chair of Chairs, Councillor Colleen Makubele, members of the Mayoral Committee, esteemed fellow councillors, leaders of political parties, Acting City Manager Mr. Tian Ihles, members of the media, distinguished guests, and most importantly, those who we've been elected to serve the residents of the city of Johannesburg. Thank you for the opportunity for inputting with regards to consideration of the budget speech of 2022-2023. And my input is largely with regards to considerations that the budget should be of such nature that those that pay should be commensurate to services rendered. So those that pay should receive the services accordingly. And each constituent, in fact, accordingly should benefit from the services that they pay for. I have already humbly submitted to the Honourable Speaker as well as the Executive Mayor in an email sent through with some of the challenges, in particularly with regards to Region G in my constituent. And I'm sure these also come through with the other residents in the city. So the residents' needs on the ground should be catered for in such a way that the needs are met up with, as long as the budget speech is sincere in fulfilling the needs of the residents' service delivery. And in terms of the mayoral priorities to be implemented, this will be a solution-driven one to satisfy the residents of Johannesburg. I thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ismail. Councillor Makuba.
Honourable Speaker of Council, Executive Mayor, Chair of Chairs, Chief Whip of Council, members of the Mayoral Committee, all protocol observed. The Inkatha Freedom Party notes and welcomes the City of Johannesburg 2022-23 budget presented to us on the 25th of May 2022. We note in particular the 77.3 billion budget, where 7.7 billion is the capital budget and 69.7 billion is the operating expenditure budget. The IFP understands, given the present realities of a public fiscus that is teetering on a financial tightrope, placing limits on service delivery expenditure. We hope these resources shall be used wisely and efficiently towards providing decent livelihood for the residents of the city of Johannesburg, ensuring that their dignity is restored and their equal worth is recognized and valued from the one corner of the city to the other. As we heal the cracks that are a part of our story, like MMC Finance said on Wednesday, the IFP hopes that the COVID-19 negative effects that affected our communities will be taken into consideration and the challenges they are facing presently due to the 2 to 3 years pandemic. Speaker, the IFP understands that the city of Johannesburg is the most affected by the influx of migrants, which causes excessive demands for human settlements and healthcare services. Most of the roads in the city have reached and surpassed their lifespan. They require resurfacing. Patching is but a short-term solution to make them user-friendly and safe, but resurfacing, as much as resurfacing requires more budget, but in the long term, it's a very good investment. More funds need to be allocated for road rehabilitation rather than just patching. Underperforming service providers must be reported and penalized. The IFP notes with concern the City Power's turnaround strategy, which will, when implemented, assist some of the city residents. Those that rely on City Power for their electricity supply will benefit. And this will happen in the exclusion of those residents receiving electricity from Eskom. Their plight remains the same. We know that Rome was not built in a day, but hopes that this budget will cater for all residents of the city regardless of their geographical location. The IFP also draws the city's attention to the poor living conditions of our hostel communities, which leaves much to be desired. In conclusion, the IFP would like to hear what the city plans are to deal with corruption and the flaunting of procurement policies within the city departments. Supply chain processes in the city require serious attention as they affect service delivery. The Department of Housing made submissions for an additional budget for the refurbishment of flats, major repairs and maintenance for Joshco properties. The Budget Office committed to allocate an additional budget during the adjustment process. We will monitor what happens. As part of the multi-party government, the IFP believes that these inputs will go a long way in ensuring that the citizens of the city of Johannesburg gets the lion's share of the 2022-23 financial year. The IFP supports this budget. I thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Makuba. Councillor Marema.
Thank you very much. Greetings, Speaker of Council, Councillor Vasco da Gama, the Executive Mayor, Councillor Mpho Palazzi, Chief Whip of Council, Councillor Mr. Mayers, I hope you're not surprised that I can't spell your name, my brother. Chair of Chairs, Councillor Colin Makubele, members of the Mayoral Committee, Acting City Manager Tian Ellis, fellow councillors. Speaker, the Golden Start launched by multi-party coalition is not getting the basic right, as the majority of the city of Johannesburg residents are still without electricity. Even in the M1 freeway towards south, we are in the dark. Speaker, the residents of Soweto are forever in the streets fighting for Eskom to switch on their lights. The previous GLU administration has made an undertaking of taking over Eskom services areas in Soweto, Diepsloot, Orange Farm, and Ivory Park. These residents waited to hear as to when will this plan unfold. Speaker, this administration seems to be politicizing service delivery at an extent at the expense of making the solution to the situation that we have. They waited to hear as to when is the city is going to take over Eskom areas in Soweto, in Orange Farm, in Diepsloot, Cosmos City, and Ivory Park. Speaker,
The resident wanted to hear more of the caring mayor and her administration on when will City Power take over. And to this, we had nothing. As we speak, there are councillors who are marching with the residents to Megawatt Park because the city is mum on the issue of taking over those areas supplied by ESCOM. Instead, Mayor, I hear the claim of running a caring government by hosting energy endeavors led by a few privileged from the Western Cape. Speaker, is this a caring city? During IDP consultation processes, our residents raised a number of issues which at least one would have expected to hear a budget speaks directly to those. Speaker, we also had nothing from the State of the City address and the budget itself about the development which the city is part of the MOU on the building of the smart city in Lanziri. The whole speech is like a house of cards. Foundation is false and wrong. The whole house is then bound to collapse. Everything else you said stands because of the misdiagnosis. Speaker, majority of government of local unity projects and programs that has been formed under the banner of Growth and Development Strategy 2040 GDS, the vision are thus discontinued or changed names. As a result, three broad factors have come to characterize the multi-party Golden Start coalition in the Johannesburg municipality. They are mainly financial collapse, mismanagement, institutional failure, and service delivery challenges. Speaker, the entire frame of the speech is based on untruth. It means that there's false diagnosis, so the treatment is going to be wrong. For instance, the alarming statements made that the multi-party discovered how broken our city was is misleading and incorrect. The increased number of cable theft in the city tells the unsafe and unsecure story with no clear plan on how the matter is going to be addressed. All we receive is just this story and the blame game. It's not us, it's them. It's not us, it's them. Speaker, the allocation to Soweto for stormwater management, the amount of 70 million over 3 years, seems little for the extent of the challenge that were faced there. We request the executive mayor and the MMC to embark on a walkabout, do an inspection of the challenges experienced by the communities of Soweto. Speaker, we fully agree that the COVID-19 pandemic had incalculable effect on the city and it delayed the implementation of the projects, which was to address the living condition of our communities. And these 10 key projects was previously allocated to the office of the city manager for implementation on the programs basis that are no longer there. These have been moved to JDA following budget over the 3-year period. Ivory Park renewal allocation, the budget of 104 million, which the budget seemed to be little to address the challenges of sewer running across the street. There is a serious need for sewer upgrade, stormwater drain system maintenance, and resurfacing of roads in the greater Ivory Park. Residents of town are tired of the empty promises, specifically the lack of decent housing, flushing toilets, and electricity, which these needs are the burning issue in that area. The Kliptown urban renewal project of 56 million won't be able to address these challenges. Allocation for Ivory Park and Kliptown needs to increase, so to have real visible impact on the lives and experience of those communities. Continuity is a vital part of this process. We are happy about the continuation of Orange Farm urban renewal with the allocation of 851 million. Now, as the ANC caucus, we are requesting the city to plan for events that will disrupt the basic services that are to be rendered to our communities. Speaker, The use of internet grants is necessary for our community, a great awareness of importance of the world around them. The usage of Wi-Fi connectivity growth on a daily basis, and its users are not to be denied access. We have noted as the ANC caucus that no allocation to Wi-Fi hotspots under GICT or MTC, even though the speech made reference to roll out 500 hotspots. In MTC, no mention of EMP previously approved in council. And we wonder what the plan is with the MTC going forward. Additional allocation to city power infrastructure seem to have a bias for suburbs of Ramsey, Allendale, Honeydew, Bryanston. How much of the additional infrastructure investment in city power will benefit areas like Alexander, areas that will benefit historically communities that are denied access to this, like Alex, like areas that are in the inner city? The budget seems to be biased to the affluent suburbs. Southern Farms, also considered by council last year, has only been allocated 70 million over the next 3 years. We need to see the vast track implementation of Southern Farm. Speaker, the youth and the women participation in the economy of the city is not clear from the budget speech. It should be noted that generally the level of youth and women participation is low. At the same time, the participation rate of women and youth from disadvantaged previous group is not counted, but can be estimated to be even lower generally. Youth and women belong to the disadvantaged group, and they are facing multiple discrimination in their daily lives, which in the end significantly diminishes their motivation and opportunities for active engagement and participation in the life of the city. An effective course of action would be to begin enhancing opportunities for them to participate in cooperatives and also developing them in terms of training available. There must be programs that are more far-reaching than the 200 artist programs. Stability and execution is the key to success. The IDP budget are just words on paper if there are no people to execute the plans. These are men and women who have dedicated their careers to serving the people of Johannesburg. If we continue to purge those tasked with the job of execution, how will we then improve the lives of our residents? How do the citizens keep faith or having faith in the city when its leadership throw its hands in the air and say, we are changing? The ship is sinking. Consciousness is not arriving. You can fool some people sometimes, but you can't fool all the people all the time. I thank you, Speaker.
PA Councillor Sauls, the first.
Greetings all. The city of Johannesburg has always been known as the city of gold. It attracted people from everywhere to come and search for gold as a mineral. We are told today that Johannesburg no longer has the mineral called gold. But this multi-party government believes that the residents of the city of Johannesburg is the new gold. Now we are different political parties, and as such, as different political parties, we've got different views. We will interpret and label the budget in our own way because we all see it through our own lens. But one thing that we all can agree on, no matter what political disposition we come from, is that the city of Johannesburg is in utter disrepair. And this reality calls for an exercise of repair, but not just any kind of repair, a golden repair. But the question is, what is a golden repair? What makes this repair golden? The budget expresses this. What makes this repair golden is firstly that every ward cannot get everything, but every ward is getting something. What makes this repair golden is the fact that the bulk of this budget is focused on repairing the city's biggest challenges of electricity and water supply. What makes this repair golden is the fact that it is people-centered. And the day of repair starts today. And we have a timeline to this golden repair. In 3 years, the true gold will have her value restored and her shine brought back. The Patriotic Alliance supports this budget. Ons baizane.
Thank you, MMC. So,
Hey, Jay Spicer, Jay.
Councillor
Jay Spicer, Jay, man.
De Lange.
Hey, Jay Saskotani, Jay.
Councillor De Lange.
Jay, het hier zo gekomen om te... Ons gekort.
Thank you, Speaker. Madam Mayor.
Thank you, councillors. Thank you, councillors. Councillor De Lange, please continue.
Thank you, Speaker. Madam Mayor, special thank you to all our MMCs and a heartfelt thanks to MMC Soderby for delivering a hopeful budget. I would like to focus on the Golden Repair initiative of our city. Firstly, we have a funded budget, graded by Treasury. When we are entering the new financial year, we've also got a positive outlook through Moody's. It is all a huge benefit to know that our OPEX budget is 100% funded through our predicted revenue collection for the next financial year. So we do not need to lend any further funds to fund our day-to-day operations. If we can strive to maintain our 90% collection rate for 2022-23, and especially collect our intergovernmental debts, we will be able to run the city's operations smoothly. Taking into account the already 9.11 billion we collected between January and at the end of March, and that MMC Soderby, we must really push and pressure national and provincial governments to access every single grant. At the end of the day, those funds doesn't belong to them, it belongs to the taxpayers of this city. Voorsitter, is ook 'n groot voordeel dat die stad nou besluit het om subkontrakteurs wat nie hou by hulle dienskontrak voorwaardes nie, hulle kontrakte onmiddellik te kanselleer. Taking the current CPI of 5% into consideration, the Freedom Front Plus supports the tabled rates.
Councillor De Lange, there's a point of order.
Give the man a mic.
Is there a problem with those mics on that side? Has anybody else pressed any mic?
Okay, sharp.
Speaker,
Switch off
please.
the mic there next to you.
No, it's fine. Let me switch it off. Speaker,
Yeah, thanks.
we are deprived of translators here. Please, can we be accommodated? Some of us who don't understand some of these languages.
No,
We are
Councillor.
deprived,
Councillor,
Speaker,
you're
please.
out of order. Sometimes
No,
you
we
speak
need it.
Zulu.
No, Speaker.
And
Speaker,
nobody
wait.
translates.
Speaker,
Please take
wait.
your seat, Councillor.
Listen, Speaker. I'm saying we are deprived of interpreters. We want to listen to...
No, you can't. You know that the system is not working.
Yeah, but
You've
how
never
can we
demanded
listen
that
and follow when
in the
people are
past
speaking
5
foreign
years.
languages?
Please sit down, Councillor.
Please, man.
Thank you.
Please.
Please take your seat. Councillor Zelanga, continue. You are
If you
protected.
grant
There's
me some
11
extra.
official languages. Thanks.
Thank you. If you grant me some extra time, I will translate. I've done many speeches in my life. Speaker, it is a huge benefit to the city that they finally made the decision that substandard contractors, if they do not follow their SLAs, their contracts will be immediately cancelled. Under the current worldwide strain and stresses, it is a hopeful decision by the executive for struggling residents that the phase 3 of the debt rehabilitation program will roll out soon. The tabled ESP and pensioners rebates will prove that this is a caring city and that this budget is focused 100% to those individuals' needs. Further to the above, 1.2 billion has been allocated for maintenance on our power network and 1.1 billion allocated towards our roads. Let's fix those potholes. As mentioned by residents, safety is one of this multi-party government's highest priorities. A budget of 6.1 billion has been allocated, and the Freedom Front Plus welcomes the following: more visible policing, anti-land invasion unit, and we must clamp down on cable theft and the vandalism of our infrastructure. It is also good to know that we do not just spend OPEX, but that 200 new fire engines and 40 million budgeted for the new Marshalltown fire station is also proof that we can spend our CAPEX allocations. The Freedom Front Plus supports the budget for 960 million and 1.6 billion OPEX towards our most vulnerable individuals in the city and our pensioners, and that the old age homes move from housing to social development was the correct one. As a
30 seconds.
As a metro, we must not just give, but we must also attract. So the 35 billion investment attraction is a good avenue to walk down. To grow the city, entrepreneurship is key, and the delusion that the state will look after me and give me a business and all of that has faded away. It is positive news that 500 new hotspots will be rolled out. It will give the youth the opportunity to actually explore online internet businesses. In closing, Speaker, we can plan our ways, but God determines our destination. We as the multi-party government must serve the people by sorting out their rate bills, proper 24/7 access to our city, and we must govern honestly and through transparent leadership. We must root out corruption and mismanagement. Speaker, the Freedom Front supports the budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Delanga. Councillor Sitole.
Speaker, can I just rise on Rule 71, please?
On Rule?
71.
71. On what are you rising, Councillor?
I'm rising
no,
on
stand.
item,
Stand.
71.2.
Councillor, please stand.
Can I rise on Rule 71, Speaker?
Yes.
Please, man. It's a coincidence that the person who's coming here is coming from ACDP and he's a pastor. When you were talking, when we open, you show a compassion about the councillors that are affected. I'm pleading with you to send, as we speak here, JMPD to go and guard those councillors that are affected. I am saying these things because I got a call that where they are continuing to be harassed by the community.
Thank you, Councillor.
Lastly,
I've heard you.
I said I'm rising. Can I finish what I was saying? Lastly, with due respect, Speaker, we don't have an office as councillor, so there's no compassion from you as a speaker. Can you take care of us? I don't have an office, Speaker. And I'm submitting this based on this rule.
Councillor, that's not the place
Speaker,
to raise it.
that I'm requesting you
Can
to take
please
care of
take
us.
your
You
seat?
don't care.
Thank you. Please take your seat. Councillor, the issue that you've raised, which I've raised a concern about this morning, and please remember that I was not in charge in the last term, so if you don't have an office anymore, there's a reason why. Councillor, the issue that you've raised is being attended to by the staff. Thank you very much. Please continue, Councillor Stolle.
No, but Speaker is out of order.
Order.
Councillor Mkina. Next door.
Oh, it's fine now.
Thank
No,
you.
thank you very much. Good morning, councillors. I never thought you will actually respond to what councillor was raising in the manner that you've just responded, Speaker. And I thought we are debating, and you'll stick to debating, or giving Councillor Stolle to continue. But now that you have responded to what Councillor Mbengwa has put forward to yourselves in your office, I think it's proper that I respond as well. Speaker, Councillor Mbengwa has been without an office since this term of office, and you've been the Speaker of Council. So you can't be blaming people that are not even here. Please, Speaker, do your work. Do your work.
The councillor knows that this issue is being addressed, Councillor Mkina.
Do your work.
He knows that it's being addressed.
I
But
don't
he's
appreciate
purposely
how you
raising it here.
responded to the matter. I don't appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I'm not going to accept your response to the matter. I'm not going to do that. Please, you must
Thank you.
withdraw your words because your words are not correct.
Stolle, please continue.
Please, Speaker.
Councillor Stolle, please continue.
I withdraw.
Ake ngilotshise the Speaker in the House. Greetings as well to the City of Johannesburg Mayor. Also extend my greetings to the Whip of the Council, as well as the Deputy Speaker, Councillor Colleen Makuele, and all my fellow councillors in the House, as well as the distinguished guests from ACDP that in gallery there. And I greet you all. I am glad to say that this is indeed a people-centered budget speech that was delivered by the MMC of Finance on 25th of May, which was African Day. ACTP welcomes and supports the given budget allocation. It shows that a true commitment to provide the residents of the city of Johannesburg with service they deserve, and with the multi-party administration which is continuously committed aggressively to service delivery. We take note and applaud the effort put together by the city to have a steady increase in revenue collection, and hereby encouraging the citizens to continue to fulfill the obligation of paying the services, so that the city will be able and afforded opportunity to render its services. I also call to the ANC from the national and the provincial government also to pay to what they are owing the city. We have noticed that they are owing the city at about 700 million rands, and they have to pay as the government of the republic and also leading the province as well. The city cannot continue to render its service delivery if we don't pay the services
point of order.
that we owe to the city. They must lead by example. Of the tariff, we're taking in consideration that the city is affected by a high rate of unemployment that is sitting at about 40%, including the youth at 55%, as well as the poverty below that of 52%. We all know that our people are facing difficulties, but we also encourage our people to pay for their services. We believe that budget allocation is set such to means to meet the requirements and the goals set by our mayor, which was the 7 golden priority, which aims to get a basic service and right. As any municipality which failed to give to its community basic service, it's rendered as a failure municipality. Kuyinkarso mraru speaker ukuzo ukuthi the office of the finances MMCs have allocated about 20.5 billion rands to make sure that the lights and the waters are services to our people. A safe and secured city, a caring city, a business-friendly city, inclusive city, a well-run city, and a smart city. Let me zoom quickly to the issue of the SSMEs, as well as the job opportunities that the MMCs have highlighted of about 17.5 job opportunities that will be given to our people.
Councillor Stoller, your time is up.
Serious. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Majola.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To start off, I'd like to sympathize with the ANC councillors whose lives are being threatened right now for failures of ESCOM. I cannot possibly imagine how it must feel like to be threatened with death for failures that one is not personally responsible for. As much as my view is unsolicited, I do think that the safety of councillors in this House should be the priority of the Speaker and the Speaker's office. I really hope, Mr. Speaker, that your office, as you say, is dealing with this. Thank you, Speaker. The tabling of the budget on Wednesday was indicative of the vision that this multi-party government has for our city. It was a first significant step that revealed the direction that this multi-party government wants to take. Allow me to cite a quote that says, "If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together." Mr. Speaker, my attempt yesterday to identify the person to which this quote can be attributed led me to a multitude of people. I therefore really don't much care who said this, but it couldn't be more relevant to this government. Mr. Speaker, the partnership that constitutes this government can be likened to a journey to fix that which is broken in our city, a journey to restore the economic vibrancy of our city, a journey to build a Johannesburg filled with opportunities. This is a long journey, This journey requires us to walk together. Mr. Speaker, the outcomes of the 2021 local government elections further kicked out the window the idea of one-party dominance in this council. The people of Johannesburg gave us a task to formulate through a coalition the most optimal government, the best possible team. As evident in this budget, Mr. Speaker, this best possible team has identified safety and security of residents as one of its priorities. A commitment, Mr. Speaker, has been made by this government on Wednesday to reduce lawlessness through bylaw and traffic enforcement. In order to make public spaces safer, this best possible team committed 1.3 million rands operational budget to employ 150 park rangers to ensure safety in our public parks. Mr. Speaker, this best possible team further demonstrated its hard stance on crime and lawlessness by committing to revitalize municipal courts. These are important and necessary steps to make Joburg safer. We welcome the commitment to reclaim the public spaces, to conduct regular inspections, and to crack down on illegally occupied buildings and land use. These are much needed interventions to restore the rule of law in our city. When these criminal activities are allowed to take place, the safety and security of our residents is compromised. Mr. Speaker, we are confident in the capability of Councillor Tembe that these interventions will be executed well and will produce good results. Let me associate myself with the remarks of the member of the Mayoral Committee for Finance when she said, "A society can be judged on how it takes care of its most vulnerable." Indeed, this is a great benchmark of a caring city. We welcome the commitment, Mr. Speaker, to ensure improved health care, drug recovery programs, support for the homeless, food security programs, and dignified old age homes. Our most vulnerable residents need to know that this government cares for them and that their well-being is a priority to this government. That is a pro-poor stance, Mr. Speaker, and as Action SA, we will always support a pro-poor program. Speaker, again, I associate myself with the sentiments that government should not be expected to be the leading employer. Government's role must be to create a business-friendly environment that will convince investors to release their money and invest, and also inspire entrepreneurs to start businesses. Indeed, Mr. Speaker, investors only want to be inspired for them to invest in our economy and for them to have confidence to make those investments. And you do this by investing in transport infrastructure, investing in safety and security, and strengthening the law enforcement. Speaker, many of our residents rely on the city-provided free Wi-Fi to access the internet. We are all aware of the high cost of data and other internet plans. When people are connected to the internet, they have an equal footing of accessing opportunities. This is why it is important to invest in connectivity throughout our city. We note, support, and welcome the allocation of 35 million rands for the free Wi-Fi infrastructure. This will help our residents to access opportunities. We believe this is a pro-poor stance. Mr. Speaker, we also note with gladness the budget allocation for the purpose of establishing the Office of the Deputy Mayor. This is a step towards a good direction. This is a much-needed office that must be given its full mandate. When the time is right, Action SA will ensure that a councillor equal to task will be appointed to this role. Mr. Speaker, issues of immigration directly affect and mostly affect cities. Although this is largely a competence of national government, the city must take action to deal with the influx of undocumented immigrants. Oftentimes, failure to deal with immigration is twisted and presented as virtue and respect for human rights. But this is a form of cruelty. It is cruel for citizens, and it is cruel for immigrants themselves. We call on the government to develop a plan to deal with the illegal immigration in this city. Mr. Speaker, in closing, we appreciate the commitment by MMC of Housing to engage with the community and the provincial government to develop Slovo Park informal settlement. We also appreciate the commitment by MMC Harris to start the process of building a much-needed multi-purpose center in Ward 53. Action SA supports this budget. I thank you.
Thank you. He's still got 2 minutes left. It's 10 minutes.
Well done.
He's still got 2 minutes left. Responses, MMC Sadabi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the Speaker of Council, the Executive Mayor, Chief Whip of Council, Chair of Chairs, members of the Mayoral Committee, fellow councillors, and most importantly of all, the residents of the city of Johannesburg. Good morning. Thank you to all those who have shown support to this budget, and thank you as well to all those who have not shown support to this budget. A budget debate in and of itself presupposes that there will be disagreements, and having been a member of this council for the past 6 years, I am not surprised that there is an array of opinions, some positive and some negative. We are a council of 18 political parties. Everyone is entitled to their own view, and in this space, on this day, everyone has an opportunity to discuss their views. Mr. Speaker, when we took office, we swore an oath to be faithful to our country, to obey and respect and uphold the Constitution, and to perform our functions and duties to the best of our abilities. One of our premier duties is to conduct oversight, and frankly, it is your job as councillors to interrogate this government's decisions, to ventilate the issues, and to keep us to account. Neither I nor your constituencies would expect anything less. Thank you to each speaker for all your inputs today. I appreciate that our experiences are different and that your on-the-ground insights into the needs of your communities are different from mine. I want to assure you that we have taken note of each concern, and this multi-party government will consider these for the purpose of drafting the adjustment budget, as well as holding those over into subsequent years. And if you have any further requests, please note that the email address coj.budget2022@gmail.com is still open. Submit your issues and we will take note of them. One of the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic was that the election was held much later in the year than usual, causing extreme time constraints on the budgeting process. And my office, along with Group Finance, along with the Budget Office and Treasury and GSPCR, we did a year's worth of work in 4 months. As I expressed in my speech on Wednesday, I hold a firm belief that in order for the Golden Repair to be successful, we all need to work together. Politicians, officials, and our residents. So even though we may not all sit around the same fire on each issue, I do believe that there is more common ground than might be expected. I am reminded of the African National Congress Manifesto pledge to deliver services promptly and consistently. The IFP's proffer to provide clean water and to light up our residents' lives. The Freedom Front Plus's goal to stop water losses due to burst pipes and leakages. The UDM's emphasis of living in a clean South Africa. Action SA's offer to be customer-centric and to deliver service with pride. The AIC's offer to maintain our sanitation, sewer, and drainage infrastructure. And I can carry on. I do want to assure all the councillors here today and the residents of Johannesburg that this budget is not just numbers and words on a page. It might be a wish list, but it is also a very strong call to action. And listing everything on the 207-page budget book would have taken days. We'd still be at it here today. We do not believe in paying lip service. We will act and we will do everything in our power to achieve the targets that we have set and to deliver the projects that have been funded. Those projects that have not yet started will begin immediately. There will not be the lackadaisical effort at the beginning of the year that we have all grown accustomed to. I expect all our entities to charge out of the charging blocks with enthusiasm and to begin to realize the hopes of our residents that this golden repair is actually taking place. Councillor Arnolds, I do share your concern about the fire engines. An amount of 200 million capital expenditure is allocated to acquire 20 fire engines, which will be delivered within the next few months. That procurement process is close to complete, and we have been informed that these will be delivered before the end of the year. After delivering the budget speech, I worked through various newspaper articles, social media posts, radio slots, and video content. One of the main pressure points, and has been included, is the tariff increases that has been mentioned here today. I did allude to my speech on Wednesday that we are beholden by Rand Water and NERSA. We buy our water from Rand Water Board and we buy our electricity from Eskom. Rand Water and Eskom have increased their price to us. We have had no option this year but to pass that increase on. And whether Eskom provides the power or whether City Power is the one that puts the electricity into your home, there is only one producer of electricity in the country. So if City Power were to take over all the residences that are supplied by Eskom Direct, when Eskom has load shedding, those same homes will be, and businesses will be subject to the same load shedding. There will be no different. City Power cannot distribute what it doesn't have. So the increase of electricity costs and Eskom's seeming inability to supply reliable energy only highlights the fact that the city must seek alternatives. And the Energy Indaba that was held on Monday and Tuesday this week is a clear indication of this government's intentions. The outcome of that Indaba was an MOU that represents practical steps to make the city of Johannesburg increasingly Eskom independent. In turn, the Rand Water also increased its tariffs, and as with the electricity tariff, we actually at this point do not have a reasonable alternative. But if the power grid cannot be stabilized, informal settlements cannot receive electricity. Joshco cannot build new social housing, nor even complete the units that are currently ready to be allocated that do not have water and do not have electricity. If we do not give Joburg Water and City Power the money they need, Joshco cannot provide social housing. If we cannot improve the water supply, we cannot improve the water access level in informal settlements from communal taps to water supply on their property. We cannot improve communal ablutions to the possibility of private ablutions if we do not invest in the water pipes. Water upgrades that are currently being considered in informal settlements, there's 10 million rand at the Yeovil water upgrade, 18 million rand at Halfway House, 20 million rand for the Deep Sloot Reservoir, 5 million rand for the Alexandra water upgrades, 40 million rand for Orange Farm, and 50 million rand for Cosmo City. Water issues will be addressed in informal settlements. So as I've explained, the tariff hikes and the water rates are passed through from Eskom and Rand Water Board. And if we don't like those tariff increases that we have received over the last number of years, then we all know how not to vote in 2024. The projects to assist the SMMEs will come from all the projects out of the 7.7 billion rand capex budget, as well as from various operational budgets. The budget book in your council agenda, as I have said, is 207 pages. And it is your job as councillors to attend your Section 79 committees and to ensure that all the projects in that budget book take place, and to ensure that the SMMEs get the opportunities that are there for them. And to then also ensure that in that environment, that women, children, people living with disabilities, all our vulnerable communities and currently disadvantaged persons have access to the golden opportunities afforded to them. There is a policy in the city, and it's called a special rate zone area, that we have already started looking at, and that can be changed to permanently assist those in trouble. We are already in the process of looking at it and seeing how it can further be implemented within the city. Ward-based budgets are essentially currently encompassed in the projects that come from the CBP process. The actual concept of ward-based budgets is currently under discussion, and a report will serve in council when it is ready. In the meantime, as I have said before, if your ward has some special projects that are not included in this budget and you want them to be looked at in the short to medium term, please send your request to coj.budget2022@gmail.com. I want to assure my fellow councillors and the residents of Johannesburg that this budget is not just words. The supply chain processes are under review. 20 million rand has been allocated to install automated supply chain management. A supply chain management workshop has already begun, and next week there will be a high-level discussion with various stakeholders. We will never again pay 300 rand for a coffee cup that can be bought at Macro for 35 rand. Development planning has already cancelled contracts for subcontractors that are underperforming. We will not be taken advantage of again. We had a meeting with Province yesterday and saw that there are some grounds that we do access that are not optimally utilized, and there are some that we don't access at all. And we are positively on a mission to access all the grants to which we are entitled. And you don't hear me say that word often. But national government and provincial government has funding for municipalities, and we are entitled to those. We will find them, and we will make sure that we access and utilize every rand to which we are entitled for the benefit of the residents of the city of Johannesburg. So in closing, the Golden Repair is a process. It's not an event. And it is a process that is not them. It is us. The journey of getting the basics right, we all have a responsibility. Councillors, city employees, and residents. Our job is to create an inclusive city where, as Councillor Reddy has said, where poverty exists, there can be no freedom. Our job is to reduce poverty, increase access to water and power, create an environment where business, big and small, can flourish. In short, restore dignity to all our residents, from Orange Farm to Ivory Park. I have spent 6 years in Carlfontein and Ivory Park. I am not inured to the issues our residents have to endure. My list of this cannot be considered normal on Wednesday references situations that I have dealt with daily in my previous term as a councillor. I have traversed those sewage-filled streets in Ivory Park. So our job is to reduce poverty, not worship it. I trust that we all have the fortitude to return our city's golden shine and together restore it to a city of golden opportunity. I thank you.
Thank you, MMC Sadebe. Next, we'll have comments by the Executive Mayor.
Thank you very much, Acting Speaker. All protocol observed. A very good afternoon. It's just after 12 midday. I'm sitting here and I'm really excited that we've reached yet another significant milestone in the rebuilding process towards restoring the shine to our city of Johannesburg. Democracy means the government of the people, by the people, for the people. And it's very difficult to achieve a true democracy in a single-party government. I'm eternally grateful, and at each milestone I recognize it even more so, that the electoral outcome actually pushed us into a true democracy through the diversity that we see today in the Joburg multi-party government. And this diversity has found expression in the IDP and budget that has been tabled by the MMC for Finance. I'd like to congratulate the MMC for what I know was a very difficult journey towards this point. I'd like to congratulate you for your leadership and for making sure that the diversity that's represented in this chamber that reflects the diversity in the 6 million residents of our beautiful city is reflected in the IDP and the budget. Thank you very much. The MMC has managed to put together a budget that's practical, inclusive, yet generous where it matters most to our residents. Now, when the Joburg multi-party government took over 5 months ago, we defined what we called the golden start, which was the period until the 30th of June, which is the end of the financial year. This was the period from our arrival in office, where we assessed the true state of the city. We conceptualized what the various turnaround strategies would need to be. We reduced them to plans, and we reduced them to budget submissions. And now the MMC has declared the start of the golden repair, which is the true start of the building process. Now also, I'd also like to echo the words of the MMC that indeed things are still not rosy. The rebuilding is but only beginning. But all indications are that with this IDP and this budget, that picture is about to change. So now we have the plans and we have the budgets, but plans or budgets are but enablers that require leadership, good governance, and an organizational culture that promotes growth and development. So beyond our approval process today, and I know that we will approve this IDP and this budget, we will need to roll up our sleeves, all hands on deck, those in government and those in opposition. And we will need to get building. Here's what I promise as the executive mayor of the city in the Joburg multi-party government. We will move with speed to finalize the recruitment of a capable city manager who will drive the implementation process. We will equally move with speed to conclude the recruitment of the 5 critical senior manager positions that we found vacant. Because without the right leadership, this plan and the budget will not achieve what we seek to achieve. To ensure that we build a healthy financial resource base for our desired growth, a number of things also need to happen. We will go on rigorous fundraising initiatives to attract funding beyond our traditional funding sources. Now, MMC spoke about our relationship with the National Treasury, and indeed, we will be having a workshop with National Treasury. The aim of this workshop, and it will happen in the first week of June, is for Treasury to take us through all the various grants that they have on offer. This is free money that is available for local government. Much of that money we are not accessing currently, and we can access it, and Treasury is going to make sure that we are capacitated and that we start accessing that money. But Treasury laments continuously on our need to improve our capacity to spend. Johannesburg has historically received grants, free money from National Treasury, and not been able to spend that money. And you know what happens when you don't spend the money, it gets sent back to National Treasury. Now, there will be various interventions internally, including through the Office of the Coup, to make sure that we drive our expenditure and that we increase our propensity to receive these grants from National Treasury. We will also work on our alignment with the global agenda, particularly the Sustainable Development Goals. As you know, there's 17 SDGs, which succeeded the MDGs, the Millennial Development Goals. We will also need to align with the Global Green Agenda. Now, once we have aligned, we also need to demonstrate that alignment. And for us to demonstrate alignment, we will need credible data. And MMC Sarabi is working on data management, centralizing data management, and ensuring that we have a proper system in place that we'll be able to use to demonstrate our alignment with the global agenda, and that will unlock further funding from global markets. And that work is starting now. Now, we've been interfacing as a city with various banks for loans and development funding institutes to access loans and grants and so on. We need to improve our interface with the DFIs out there. A lot of them are saying to us, you cannot be asking us what is the cost of lending. We don't operate that way anymore. Because of our other agenda, we want to know what is your alignment with the SDGs, what is your alignment with the Global Green Agenda. The more aligned you are, the lower the cost of borrowing. And that's why it's so important to reorientate ourselves, our processes internally, and how we manage our data internally, because it's really going to unlock a lot of funding. And a lot of the DFIs are saying, with greater alignment, not only will we give you a loan, but we'll also give you grants to match those loans. So there's a lot of money in the global market, and we're going to start doing the work to help us access that money. We do not want to overburden the fiscus with debt. Our target for the next financial year is only 2 billion rands, and there is quite an appetite out there to give us the money, different from what we saw happening last year, so that's quite encouraging. But as you know, cash funds 100% of our OPEX and much of our CAPEX. So we need to ensure that we continue to have a healthy cash base. And this will happen through ratepayer education. We will educate our ratepayers on why it's important to pay their rates and why every rand counts. And that education started in the IDP consultation processes, and it was very well received, with many of our residents, even in historically poor rate-paying areas, asking us for more information because they want to pay their bills. And that work will continue. Of course, we will continue to provide support for those who cannot afford to pay rates, and we will do this through our ESP offering, which we will continue with, free basic services being given to those who can't afford, but that must be linked to opportunity because we don't want anybody staying too reliant on the government for too long. And our Opportunity Seekers database, which MMC will be concluding, is going to assist us in that regard. Buyam Teto for delinquent ratepayers will continue. As you saw in the MMC's presentation, she mentioned how we've seen incremental growth in our collection rate from 3.9 billion in January to 4.2 billion in March, which exceeded our 4 billion rand target, and those efforts will continue. But we must also give ratepayers value for money. Ratepayers will only continue paying rates when they get value for the rates that they pay. We will make sure that as the Joburg multi-party government, our ratepayers feel valued and that they want to continue staying in the city of Johannesburg and continue paying their rates. I'd like to congratulate our revenue collection team for the successes that they've had and the positive month-on-month growth trajectory, and may the good work continue. Now, I spoke about how we're going to attract money, but once the money is in the system, we need to also be good stewards of that money. And that will also happen through various initiatives, including a culture of austerity. MMC gave some examples of money that is being wasted in the system. MMC Finance told me a story of a budget of just under 500,000 in her office for entertainment. Those are the kind of things that we will do away with, and we'll make sure that such monies get redirected towards basic service delivery. So we'll continuously eliminate all forms of waste in the system, and we will make sure that there's redirection of money. We'll also inculcate a culture of responsibility with the money that we are stewarding. We need to make sure that every cent is spent how it was meant to be spent. MMC spoke about procurement and some of the waste that we are seeing there as well. I could not believe when the MMC for Finance shared with me that we're paying up to 35 times what we should be paying for some goods and services that we are procuring. But what we find interesting is that when political leaders want to have oversight over procurement processes, they are accused of interfering, while we're actually reviewing our procurement processes to ensure that we strengthen the hand of our MMCs as well as the chairpersons of portfolio committees and the rest of you in council in doing oversight over procurement processes. This, of course, will be done to ensure that our residents get value for money. And to support this, we will establish and capacitate a demand management function within the finance portfolio, which will make sure that we get more for every rand of our residents' money. Now, in procurement, you also know that sometimes we procure services and we end up paying more than once for because of a lack of due diligence. We will ensure that there's proper due diligence when procuring services so that we don't pay more than once for the same job. And this happens in entities such as the JDA, where one contractor comes in, down the line they can't finish the job, we have to bring in another contractor and spend the same amount of money, a waste of our ratepayers' money. We also need to see a progressive improvement in our expenditure towards repairs and maintenance, and I'd like to congratulate MMC Finance and the budget team for starting to move towards a positive trajectory there, because if we don't repair and maintain what we have, we will spend more in buying what we have or repairing it later on. Another thing that we're going to be dealing with, particularly in the next financial year, there's going to be a concerted effort towards addressing unfunded mandates. We have asked every department and every entity to submit to us a list of all competencies that local government is busy with that are not core local government competencies. We will take each of those and we will assess, are we getting subsidies from either National Treasury or the core mandate holder to render those services? And where that is not happening, we're going to challenge both the National Treasury and the core mandate holders to do what is right by our residents, pay us what is due to the city of Johannesburg, allow us to free up money and redirect it to basic service delivery so we can keep the lights on and keep the taps running.
Madam Mayor, there's a point of order. MMC.
No, thank you very much, Speaker. Speaker, I'm not sure where we are at the moment in terms of our agenda. I thought MMC Surabaya has actually responded to the submissions. I'm not sure where we are, whether it's you are actually abusing us intentionally. Honestly.
Councillor Tina.
I'm not talking to you.
Councillor Mtina.
Are you all speakers now?
Councillor Mtina, if you've got your
keep quiet there.
Your speakers
No
list in
speakers.
front of you.
Please.
If you have your speakers list in front of you, it's right there. Please continue, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So in the next financial year, we're going to have lots of golden conversations towards golden decisions, and some of them might not be easy. We will engage our residents as well on what these unfunded mandates are and what decisions we ought to take, even if it means handing back some of these mandates to the core mandate holder so that we can get the basics right.
Madam Mayor, there's another point of order. Councillor Mhlongo.
No, let us not be taken for the right, Speaker. Since when in this council, Speaker...
What's your point of order?
Okay, the point of order is against...
Have you looked at your speakers list?
Yeah, but
Thank
she's
you.
not supposed to respond. I mean, the MMC
No,
who
Councillor,
tabled
please,
the budget
please take
has
your seat.
responded.
Please
Speaker,
take your
the best
seat.
practice of this House...
Please take your seat, Councillor. Please continue, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, please continue.
Speaker.
Don't take us for the right, Speaker.
Now,
the mayor is not supposed to respond.
I'm not taking any further points of order.
She's not the one who tabled,
Please
Speaker.
continue, Madam.
She's not the one. She didn't table
Thank you,
the
Mr.
budget,
Speaker.
Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, we will continue to engage other tiers of government, and we will continue to engage other areas of codependence and co-concurrence with local government to ensure that we abide by the IGR framework, the Intergovernmental Relations Framework, for the benefit of our residents.
Order, Speaker.
Please continue, Madam Mayor. Continue, Madam Mayor. No, I'm not allowing any points of order anymore. Please continue.
Mr. Speaker, where necessary, Mr. Speaker, we will reassess relationships and redefine those relationships.
Madam Mayor, there's another point of order.
Speaker.
What's your point of order?
I'm raising the point of order because here on the list of speakers here,
Yes.
each and every speaker has been allocated time. But this two,
The executive mayor is not allocated time. Please take your seat.
can't have these whole things like this.
Madam Mayor, please continue
Thank you,
for the
Mr.
next
Speaker.
hour.
Now, lastly, I'm going to talk about performance management. In order for us to deliver on this IDP and this budget, once we've approved it today, we're going to have to improve performance management, both at an institutional level and at an individual level, down to every official in the institution. HR, under the leadership of MMC Leonard, will drive a culture of performance management by ensuring that there are performance scorecards for every official in the institution and that there is proper performance monitoring as well as consequence management where necessary. To ensure that our staff
Madam Mayor, there's another point of order. What's your point of order, Councillor? Can't hear you.
Protect us from howlers, Speaker. It is important. On Rule 74, I'm not going to be like individuals who just raise
your
their
point
hands
of order,
and speak.
Councillor.
On Rule
Address
74,
me.
Speaker.
Yes.
On Rule 74. Reply to a debate. 74.1, the councillor in charge of an item on the agenda may reply to the debate on the matter. It is very explicit. We need not even to attempt to howl to one another. Can that be adhered to, Speaker? Thank you.
It does not apply here. It does not apply here. She is on the agenda and you can see that. Please continue, Executive Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. GCSS will also ensure that there's ongoing capacity building of all officials so they are sharp and ready to deliver on their mandate. And this will happen through the implementation of skills audit findings for all officials, and it will happen in partnership with various other organizations to access free training opportunities where necessary. We will embark on the institutional review, ensuring that the organizational structure is fit for purpose as we implement the IDP and the budget. We will also continue to implement the city's transversal management framework, which was tabled and approved for the first time, tabled and noted by the mayoral committee for the first time a week ago, setting the city on a path of being able to function across silos. So we'll ensure that we've got the right officials in the right positions, applying the right strategies towards the right institution for the delivery of the IDP and the budget. We'll also strengthen internal audit to ensure that we improve our audit outcomes. We will institute and implement internal controls towards better audit outcomes in partnership with the National Treasury, who has also already been forthcoming in wanting to assist us proactively as opposed to a reactive approach that we've seen in the past. We'll continue to have a zero tolerance stance towards corruption. We will reconstitute and re-operationalize the newly approved Financial Misconduct Board to deal with all cases of financial misconduct. We will capacitate group forensic and investigation services to root out all manner of fraud, corruption, and maladministration. And we will ensure that there's clear role clarification between GFIS and the Financial Management Board, and that they both function optimally. These are just a few of the many interventions
Madam
which
Mayor,
will immediately be rolled
there's another
out by the
point of
Joburg
order.
multi-party government.
Please rise, Councillor. On what point are you rising?
74.2. This time, point 2. But firstly, before I read 74.2, I wanted to check if the mayor is on a review
Please
of his
address
state of the city address.
74.2.
74.2 says, a reply to a debate closes the debate. Is this a review to a state of the city address? Because really you're abusing us.
Thank you very much, Councillor. You know that the executive mayor can give her comments, and that's exactly what she's doing. Please continue, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as I was saying, these are just a few of the interventions which will be driven by the Joburg multi-party government towards the implementation of this RDP and the budget. And these will be communicated honestly and transparently with all our residents to manage expectations and to appeal to our residents for support towards the golden repair. Group Communications has been tasked with the establishment of a basic broadcast studio as our investment in ongoing communication with our residents through the establishment of the Joburg TV platform, where our residents and stakeholders can receive information, education, updates, and where they too can have a platform to engage. Mr. Speaker, the rebuilding has begun, and I'd like to thank all those who made it possible, from our residents, our various stakeholders who gave us peaceful IDP consultation sessions, to our ratepayers who funded the cash portion of our budget. We see you and we appreciate you. Let's appreciate our ratepayers.
Speaker.
And to all of you here today, who I know will vote right and approve this beautiful IDP and budget. Golden repair, the shine is coming. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Rule 99.
Thank you, Executive Mayor. Secretary.
We are now on item 3.3, which is reports, and obviously we will then use the revised order of items, starting with item 7, which is section 79, EIS Committee Report on Public Participation Process conducted on the draft Dolomite Risk Bylaw.
Councillor Coverdale.
Chair, to item 7.
Chairperson Ngobeni.
Thank you, Speaker. All protocols observed. Speaker, I rise to table the Section 79 EIS Committee Report on Public Participation Processes conducted on the draft Dolomite Risk Bylaws. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Nkonto.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, the Executive Mayor, leaders of political parties, distinguished guests, fellow councillors, Vaterunzen Matlari, greetings to you all. Mr. Speaker, we as Action SA, the public participation we welcome the public participation on Dolomite risk mitigation bylaws. Their inclusion illustrates how the coalition government values its city dwellers. Dolomite land contributes approximately 23% of Gauteng province. Urban development usually results in disturbance of the metastable condition in Dolomite environment that can result in sinkhole formation. Sinkholes are the most characteristic of a karst topography where the landscape of the burned rock compromise a highly soluble calcium carbonate rock, e.g. limestone or dolomite. Such events have negative social and financial implications in the effect and immediate surrounding areas. Mr. Speaker, when adopting the bylaw in regard to dolomite land, risk avoidance measures such as prohibition of development of any kind on areas underlined by dolomite land ought to be prioritized, since that is not practical, feasible, as between 4 million and 5 million South Africans currently reside at work at such land. Mr. Speaker, risk mitigation measures, karst terrain mapping used in countries such as USA, Belgium, Spain, England, and South Africa. It's one of the mitigation measures that have evolved, set out in Waltham ET Act 2005, so in the city of Johannesburg, should utilize karst terrain mapping in dolomite risk management bylaws formulation. The hazard classification method set out in a paper by Apc ETL 2001 requires hypothesizing the impact of future human activity in the hazard of sinkhole formation within the dolomite karst environment in the context of dewatering or non-dewatering scenarios in the dolomite. Mr. Speaker, a site is zoned in the context of the 8 defined inherent hazard classes. Risk management strategies are the community risk management strategies are the commonly developed around these inherited hazard classes. Mr. Speaker, the Apc ETL 2001 methodology should be considered in our dolomite risk management bylaws, as they have proven to be effective and predominantly applied in South Africa. Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, Action SA approved the Section 79 report on draft management bylaws. The outlined dolomite mitigation measures above serve as the guidelines to be considered when constituting the bylaws. I thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Nkonto, and welcome, Councillor Sobi. Councillor Makama.
Speaker, greetings to councillors and all protocol observed. The ANC notes the report with regard to the public participation processes conducted within the very limited short period of time on the draft dolomite risk bylaws in all the dolomitic areas in the city. And further note the input and concern raised by the affected communities through various platforms. So the ANC therefore call upon the relevant city officials to work in harmony with the communities sitting in the dolomitic areas when implementing the risk management bylaw. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Makoma. MMC Sun.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Executive Mayor, Chief Whip of Council, Chair of Chairs, Acting City Manager, my fellow MMCs, councillors. Mr. Speaker, we don't have a problem with this report. However, I do want to take this opportunity to recognize the chairperson of the Section 79 EIST Committee and her team for the sterling job undertaken in such a short space of time In fact, if she didn't bring it to council today, the whole process would have gone to waste. I really want to commend her for the wonderful job done. Thank you very much.
Thank you, MMC. Chairperson Ngubeni.
Thank you, Speaker. I rise now to say that ask the Council to approve the draft Dolomite Risk Management Bylaw with the necessary and recommended amendments, noting inputs from members of the public in terms of Rule 142, subsection 2 of the Standing Rules of and Orders of Council. I also want to thank my committee for their assistance, all of the staff that helped to pull this process through. It really was under stringent conditions. I also want to thank the ward councillors, particularly those who were in the committee who responded and who were there. I can note them, but I don't want to single anyone out. It was really, really important to have them there, and they assisted us in achieving this great feat. It would have been a tragedy if this was to go back and not be approved. So thank you in advance, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Chair. Councillors, the recommendations are on page 7.8. Is the item agreed to? Thank you very much. Councillors, if we can break right now, and please come back at 2 o'clock. Thank you.